Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Campbell. Our next guest is a 3-time Emmy nominee, and this Friday you can see Michael Kelly one last time in the final season of House of Cards. Let's take a look.
You said it yourself. She's as guilty as he is. I'm saying maybe more. Maybe he did it all for her.
What do you got?
Do we have an agreement? I give you the truth, and you leave him out of it.
I can't do that.
It's not a just world, Tom. But sometimes you have the chance to make the right person pay, even if it's for the wrong crime. Is that enough for you? Because if it's not, I respect you and we can say goodbye.
No, Doug, it's not enough for me, and I do not agree.
Tom, I am never going to tell you that Francis killed the 3 of them. Zoe, Rousseau, and Leanne. But you already know the truth.
Yes. Yes, I do.
Everybody, please welcome Michael Kelly. Hey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, final season of the show. You made it.
Yeah, it's a badge of honor.
What is it like to say bye?
It's hard.
Because this is a show that, you know, someone like Robin Wright joins the show. She's already kind of a household name. You're a character actor that casting directors know, but you do this show and you become this thing that my parents call me and are like, I love that guy. Right?
Your parents are weird.
He's so good. He's so shady.
I'm totally kidding. Yeah, I mean, what a great role, what a great gift Doug Stamper was. I mean, he's so much fun to play. He's so interesting, absolutely fascinating to me. That guy.
A lot of layers.
Yeah. And people are always like, "Oh, he's a bad guy. He's a villain." I'm like, he's not. He's just a complicated dude, and he's done some really bad things over the years. But he's not a bad person. And I mean, maybe that's me, and you have to identify with your character in a certain way. But I don't know. I don't think of him as being bad.
He's a functionary of the system that needs him, right?
Yeah.
Like he's made up of the things that are needed of him in a lot of ways.
Yes, I'll take that. That's perfect.
The system itself is possibly as rotted.
It's the system that's broken, not Doug.
So this season is really all about female empowerment in a lot of ways, and I would say a lot of female rage and fury, obviously in reference to, I think, or in reaction to the election of 2016, and maybe some other stuff. What was it like when you were getting the scripts for this season?
Oh, I mean, every year, the writers do something that just blows me away, and the challenge of wrapping your head around so much of it and terrifying at times. But to see her come in and, assume that role as not just leader of the show as Claire, but leader of the crew, she was the one who brought us all together and said, she was the first phone call I made when the news broke. And I said, we can't not do this. And she's like, nope, we have to finish this. And don't worry, I'm already on it. And she's very, very Doug Stamper of her. But she drove the train. She brought us all together, and it was, pedal to the metal. And that's what it was about. From the second it was decided to move forward to that first day being on set, she drove it. Drove it.
What made you feel so strongly that you couldn't not do this?
I think it was a lot of things. Not just, obviously personally you want to finish the journey you started, but for the fans who've been loyal to this show for 5 years, for the crew that they're our family. That's our second family, and the thought of them having been out of work for almost a year before we started that season, we were already delayed. And the thought of them, okay, we're going back to work, and we're going to work for 13 episodes, and I'll have a job. And a lot of those are Baltimore people. The thought of those people, hundreds of people being out of work was not cool. It didn't sit well with me. It didn't sit well with Robin or Netflix or MRC. So
those are also people who are planning to get this next season.
Right.
The season had been picked up, and they were ready.
money in
they
the
were ready
bank.
to go. Yeah, it's not
Exactly.
like they were sort of just banking on another job coming in out of nowhere. or
Right,
anything.
and Baltimore doesn't have the same film business that we have here or in Atlanta or Los Angeles. So yeah, it was a combination of all of that. And also the Netflix factor. I mean, this was their first original streaming program. And to think of it ending like that on such a negative note, we all wanted to bring it to its proper conclusion.
What did you think when you first heard the news?
Man, I mean, there's 1,000 emotions that go through your head. You can compare it to, death in a way that all those different things that just flood your head, those emotions. And thank God for Robin, really the way the writers and everyone came together, it quickly pulled everyone's focus away from that. All of us, we knew we had a job to do, and it was like, okay, well, how do we take this and funnel this energy into good? But I don't think there's any one specific emotion that I had. It's just, like any shocking news, it hits you and you deal with it.
So where do we find Doug this season?
I'm very lost. I think for the first time in a long time, you see, you guys know where he was at the end of 5. From the trailers that you've seen for 6 that character is now gone. And so that you're going to find Doug without his job, without the person who he was closest to.
Dedicated his life to.
Dedicated his life to. Certainly his professional life, and that's pretty much his whole life, so dedicated his life to. He's lost. I think that's the best way to describe him.
Yeah. Was there a sort of meta sense going on with the show in the way that, like, your character lost his mentor and the person sort of leading the charge? You, as the actor, also lost the person that most of your screen time was dedicated to and was also leading the charge on the show, was the EP, sort of founding EP of the show. And now moving into this season, there's another person leading the charge?
Yeah, I guess. And I mean, I think subconsciously so much of it probably comes through, right? And I think that cinematically, you had, at the end of last season, you had the two of them going like this, is he going to get the pardon? Is he going to get, his rightful place? So she's got to have someone to fight now, and
Doug is sort of what's left of him to fight, right?
Yeah, so Doug gladly steps into that role. Not to say that I stepped into his role, not for a second am I saying that. I'm just saying that to have a force to go against, and for an actor, you can imagine, I mean, yes, him, Rachel Brosnahan, like I've been able to share the screen with some incredibly talented people that makes going to work a lot of fun. And then you throw this in the mix, and I was just like, oh my God, I get to
What has it been like to watch Rachel Brosnahan take off the way that she has recently?
Incredible. I have not just the greatest respect, but admiration for that woman. I think the world of Rachel Brosnahan, and I couldn't be happier for her, We knew, though, sending her off, like Beau Willimon was like, I remember when we told her that she was going to meet the end that she was going to meet, Beau even said, he was like, but I'm not worried about you. I think you're going to be just fine. And she's like, no, I know. She's got to go. I know. It was this fun moment. But it was hard for all of us because as an actor, we had a lot of fun together, man. She is, and I mean that professionally and personally, like she's just a wonderful person. But as an actor, my God, to be able to share the screen with her was incredible. She's so good.
No, I'm curious. The show like House of Cards takes off, and you, I think, were in a lot of ways one of people's favorite characters right off the bat. And I'm curious what kind of scripts you get when the show takes off. Do you start getting a lot of scripts to play shady people, and you have to kind of be like, no, I'm not just going to keep playing Doug when I have time off?
Exactly. It's like what version of shady do you want is really what it's come down to. I mean, you look at even Taboo, the thing I did with Tom Hardy. And which, if you haven't seen, is a great show. But it's funny. I got there to set. I was offered the role. I didn't audition for it, which I'm very thankful for. But I'm always slightly apprehensive to go to work because you do your prep work and you have this idea of how you want to play the character, how you want to approach him. And I got to set and I do my first take of the first scene, and they were like, all right, can you maybe just bring it down in your register a little bit more? And I was like, okay, yeah. Can you be a little more menacing? And I was like, okay, so you want 1800s, Doug Stamper. I got it. So,
Did you say that?
Yeah, I did. Jokingly said that. And they were like, no, just a little bit stronger and a little.
No,
little,
but yes.
Yeah.
No, but
yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yep. So we found a happy medium. Yeah.
Well, I think in order to play a different kind of character, you sort of found your own project that you're also talking about as well, called All Square, which is this like wonderful little film where you play a bookie who starts taking bets on little league games. Yeah. It's really funny. It's really dark. It's a really great movie, and you were sort of a part of this movie from the ground up, right?
From the get-go, yeah. My it's all friends from top to bottom. My friend Tim Brady wrote it. My friend John Himes directed it. So much of the crew was House of Cards. But yeah, so Timmy wrote it, sent it to me, and I remember, I'm not kidding when I said, yeah, I'm busy. I was filming House of Cards. I said, I'm really busy right now, but I'll get to it, because I'll never read anything unless I can read it from start to finish. I sat down on my desk. I was on the last page, grabbing my phone, like reading and dialing Timmy at the same time. I was like, dude, where did this come from? And he was like, I just wrote something from my heart instead of what I thought Hollywood would want to read. And I was like, well, it worked. This is really good. And so...
Well, you can tell when a writer does that because you get better scenes, and the scenes don't go to the place that a Hollywood movie would dictate, or somebody's idea of what a Hollywood movie would dictate. And that's sort of one of the best parts about watching this movie is anytime this movie can sort of go in that direction that something like this would, it zags and goes somewhere else and maintains a level of honesty throughout it.
Yeah. It's like you said, so well written that I immediately was like, we got to make this movie. He hadn't offered it to me or anything. He was like, just wanting my feedback. I was like, I want to make this. Like, I want to play the role. And he's like, well, John wants to direct it. And I was like, well, let's make it. We'd all been wanting to work together. And from that day to the end of principal photography was 1 year. We were able to just pull everyone together. I went to, the writer had secured half the funding. And I went to Yardley Smith, who is the voice of Lisa Simpson, who I had met at a party years ago with her and her producing partner, Ben. And I wrote her an email. I said, I have this script. You said you wanted to work together one day. If anything, I would love your feedback on it, because she's a very brilliant comedic woman. And she immediately wrote back within a day or two and said, I want to get on a conference call with you and Ben. And I was like, okay. Got on a conference call, and she said, we're in. We love this script. And so we had our funding. And then I slid it to the sound guy, Lorenzo, on House of Cards, and he was like, dude, this is hysterical. If you shoot this in Baltimore, I'm in. And it was written to take place in Delaware, but I was like, Timmy, if we slide this to Baltimore, I was like, it's 45 minutes away. We can kind of... And he was like, yeah, sure, man, if we can make the movie and we can get House of Cards people. So we did, and we were off and running. John and I both had a break in our schedules right after House of Cards. And we put it together, and we did it.
That's got to be so cool to be able to sort of take all this crew that you work with on a daily basis and bring them onto another job and like really work with them creatively on a passion project of yours.
Yeah, and to give those crew members who, look, Lorenzo and his sound team, they've won Emmys. There's nothing I could do to bump them up a position. But like Tiffany, our set designer in House of Cards, I said, do you want to come and be our production designer? It was giving everyone... these people were more than capable of jumping up a position from being on House of Cards all those years. So everyone, and some of the other people who didn't jump positions, who actually would do something that they didn't normally do, they were just like, anything for you, Mikey. And they did it. And they just came, and we just quickly shot this beautiful little movie that I'm so proud of.
Is that the first time that you've had to kind of do that, like marshal favors to make a project? Because it's not, the way that you're describing it is, it's like, it's easy, and I asked, it's like, it's actually like really hard to do, and it's a really emotional thing to be like, will you come devote your time to my project?
Yeah, and it's very hard for me to do as a person. That's not me. I'm nothing like Doug Stamper. Doug would just be like, you're doing this, and that would be that. I would be like, oh, hey. So what I did was I gave the script.
Hey,
I'm doing this movie. I know it's an independent stock, I know. But I gave them the script to a lot of them, and I think that's what really helped. And word got around quickly. Lorenzo was like, "Holy shit, you got to read Mikey's movie. It's really good." And
Right, if you got a good script, you've got something that,
yeah. And I think that helped a lot. But also the fact that I very rarely do ask for favors, so that when I did, I think it carried more weight, you know?
Now, your character is he's a bookie, and he kind of befriends this kid while he's also taking bets on the Little League teams. What made you want to play this character? What did you like about him?
I think it was, you know, I've been very fortunate in my career that all the jobs that I've done, there's been something, you know, whether it's a director or a writer or a script or whatever, there's something that just grabs you and you have to do it. For me, it was this story, but I also identified with that character. Like, I got it. As an actor, I never take on something that I don't read and say, I can picture myself saying those words. Even if it's far away from me as a person, if you can see yourself doing it, it makes total sense. And so for me, I read it and I just immediately was like, oh, wow, that would be a lot of fun to play that guy. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
I mean, even from the poster, it's a Bad News Bears inspired poster, right? And there is an element of a kind of Bad News Walter Matthau in this character. I would argue even he's not as bad as Walter Matthau was in the Bad News Bears, and we love him in that movie.
Very, very true. And, you know, an interesting thing, you see him there in shorts. The director called me before we started, and he was like, I think I want you to be in shorts the whole movie. Like, never not in shorts. And I was like, God, that says so much about this character. It says so much about a guy who's not willing to grow up, you know? And so that's how I look for, he changes his top, but that's pretty much how I look for the whole, eyebrows are not quite that big, but.
Honestly, I thought that his outfit and the aerial shots of him driving through the town throughout the movie conveyed this the class and the neighborhood that he lived in and the people that he was working with better than most movies ever do. I mean, what he's wearing is really authentic, as much as it might be a joke that it's shorts because it's athletics, but it's very authentic to people I know who dress like that and live in these areas and drive pickup trucks.
Totally, and to Dundalk, Maryland, like where we shot it, it is a old steel town, steel left, and this is what's left of the town. And it's a beautiful little town right on the water, and you know, the people in it are blue-collar people and really good people, and we had a blast shooting there. But it's very, you really had that feel of that town all through the movie.
It's not the sort of blue collar outfit that you normally get in Hollywood movies or indie movies, where it's like you just look like a politician who's like gonna go logging for a photo op or something. Totally. It doesn't look real at all. Talk about this kid that's in the movie with you. He's great.
Incredible. Jesse Ray Sheps, this kid's he keeps telling, we did a lot of press for the film, and he keeps saying, you know, I want to be the next Spider-Man. He very well could be a Spider-Man down the line. He's 13 now, but an incredibly talented kid. I can't say enough good things about him, man.
He's got it all timed out, too, where he's like, the last Spider-Man was like 4 or 5 years. I'm 13 now. This one's got 4 or 5 years in him.
I'm probably 3 Spider-Mans away. Yeah, he does. He's got a band. He's composing music. Like, he's just a brilliant young kid. His head's on his shoulders, right, and he's got great parents. And he was into the work. He got into scene work, and we knew. So I was filming House of Cards when they were casting some of the kids, and all these kids had to go on tape, but they also had to throw a ball and hit a ball because at the time we had 21 days. We're not gonna have time for these kids to teach them baseball. They've got to be able to do it.
To get one out there and be like, oh no, like, somebody find me another kid.
That's your throw. Not gonna work. And then we had to teach him how not to throw, you know, for the movie as well. But he was great, man, and I can't say enough good things about him.
Well, let's get some questions from our audience. Who has a question right here?
Hi, great fan of the show, and Doug's one of my favorite characters, if not the favorite character.
Thank you.
I was kind of reading your bio, and I came across an article that said you were the first graduate from CCU on the Performance Arts program. So the question I have, what was it like being the guinea pig or the first student on that course? And have you had a chance to go back to see how the course has evolved over time?
Yeah. So that's great. Coastal Carolina College, I had gone there on a running scholarship. A few small schools gave me a running scholarship. was studying political science, wanted to be an attorney, and I fell into, my advisor was like, you can't take all these classes, take this elective. And it was an acting class. He said, if you want to be an attorney, you should know how to get up and stand up in front of people. And I was like, all right. So I took it, and then like a couple weeks in, you had to pick a scene partner, do a scene, and I did this scene, and she was like, can I talk to you?
Do you remember what scene it was?
I don't. You know, I've been asked that before, and I can't for the life of me remember. I remember her name was Sunny. I remember that because she was really cute and sweet, and I had a crush on her. But we did the scene, and she said, can I talk to you after class? I was like, yeah. And she said, how long you been acting? And I was like, I've never done this before. And she was like, you have something there. Like, and so she encouraged me, and I made it my minor. And then I went for a double major, political science and acting, and I fell a couple classes shy of political science. But by then I was like, I know what I want to do. And so, yeah, they literally finished the program for me. They were trying to figure out, it took me 5 years, but how I could graduate with a performing arts degree because they'd never had anyone do it before. And so they basically made it up as I went along. And my last thing was directing, and I got out of there with a performing arts degree. I was the first person to graduate from Coastal Carolina with that. And I'm really proud of it, to the point where I do go back, and when I get a chance, I go back and talk to the kids who are in school there. And when they come here, they usually get brought here once a year to, you know, meet people in the industry, casting directors and whatnot. And I'll always go and talk to them when they come here if I'm in town. Yeah, I try to make as much time as I can because I wouldn't be here without them. So I'm so grateful, beyond grateful.
Did you notice the first time that you acted in that class before the teacher said something to you afterwards about having something, or was it your scene partner that said something?
No, that was the professor.
It was the professor. Okay, that's what I thought. If they hadn't have said something, do you think you would have noticed? Did you feel something when you did the scene?
Yeah, I definitely felt something. I loved it. I was like, I'm getting credit for this. It's sort of how I feel now. I'm like, I'm getting paid to do this for a living. It was the same feeling. I had this desire to do homework that I had never had before. This desire to succeed that I had never had before. I was never a good student, and I think it just proves that you have to find what it is that makes you tick in life to be truly successful. I think I could have done many different things in life, but this was probably what I was supposed to do, I think.
Next question. One more. Right here.
Hi, Michael. So Doug has a really strong personality on the show, and I'm just wondering what characteristics from your character do you relate to, and what characteristics do you maybe have to like kind of reach for?
I would say I probably most closely relate to his work ethic. Both of my parents have an incredibly strong work ethic that they handed down to me. I hope to hand down to my kids. And what do I mean, I don't want to kill people. That's probably, but
Right on, man. All right.
I mean, I do want to kill people sometimes, but I don't do it. No, yeah, he's crazy, you know. It's so much fun to play, but it's also so relieving to turn him off at the same time, because a lot of times, especially like season 3, when he was going through that whole recovery season, it was really easy to fall into that headspace because I wasn't acting with a lot of people. I was alone, and it's just harder to leave it, you know. I'm not saying I'm method that I stay in it all the time, but it was much harder to leave. And this season too, it was harder. And I don't know if that had something to do with the fact that I was having to totally let go, and it probably subconsciously did. You know, that I was saying goodbye to this for forever. You know, after 6 years, it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah, like 7 years though, right? Because you had the year of delays and everything, so it's a longer period of time. Yeah. What does turning it off mean for you?
You know, it's funny because I like driving from New York to Baltimore. Driving from New York to Baltimore, I would always listen to my lines because it takes me a really long time to memorize stuff. So I would listen to my dialogue over and over and find myself falling into that character. You know, it would help me get there when I drive. And I live very minimal in Baltimore. The apartment that I kept was super minimalistic, just to sort of help. And then when I would drive home, I would listen to my dialogue about halfway. And then I would, you know, tune into a Braves game or podcast or whatever, something to take me out of it. And then as soon as I get home, you know, you're surrounded by the kids and, and all hell's going loose in your house. And
I'm still in character.
yeah, it's very, and my wife, believe me, she's like, everything at the door, you know, check it at the door. And I'm not making you a coffee. Like, you're back on your own now. So she makes it pretty easy for me to step out of.
Well, Michael, congratulations on House of Cards, the final season. It premieres this Friday on Netflix, and All Square is out now. People can see it, right?
It's on. I know there's other iTunes for sure. I know you can see it on iTunes, but I think it might even be Amazon now and a couple other places. But
yeah, and
for sure iTunes.
It's really wonderful. Go check it out. All Square, and give Michael Kelly a big round of applause. Let's hear it, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.